Yes guys, just as a little heads up before we get into the video, I've made this team today based off of Hakim Ziyech being in the side. I know Lampard said he's going to be on the bench, but I think we're going to see him introduced into the game pretty early. So based off of that, let's get into my match preview. We're back, it's match day. Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. It feels good, you know, as soon as the Premier League came back, we all got excited, the football returns, we got games coming in thick and fast, and then there's a bloody international break again. I mean, like, sometimes for Euro qualifiers, it gets frustrating, but Nations League, I'll be honest, as a football fan, I love seeing England play, I love seeing England win. I just can't get excited about the Nations League just yet. But football is back in a Chelsea sense, which means we're back here on GBFC. Subscribe if you're new, and if you think Chelsea are going to beat Southampton tonight, hit the like button, and if you don't hit the like button, then it means Chelsea aren't going to win, in your humble opinion. So that was just YouTube shithousery from me right there. But today, in this video, we're going to talk about the selection headache that Frank Lampard is undoubtedly going to have in the lead up to this game against Southampton. There's been pretty good in terms of injuries, apart from obviously Mendy throughout this international break. Mendy picked up an injury and he's not going to be ready this weekend, but Kepa was playing for Spain and he did all right. So, you know, we're going to give Kepa another chance in goal. It's Southampton at home. It's a match where last season we were obviously beaten at Stamford Bridge. We went away to Southampton and got a very good win. And I'm just going to remind you, in case you've missed, the sound of Chelsea fans in the away end. Here's a clip from Southampton away last season. I bloody miss all of that stuff, but we haven't got it yet. Coronavirus is still rife. The world is still going crazy. Leaders everywhere are just embarrassing themselves. Let's go back to talking about football. That was a tangent that no one was really here for. N'Golo Kante, he sat out France's last match. As a precaution, he came back to Cobham. He's been training. Ben Chilwell wasn't in the England squad. He's been back training as well. There's been little niggles here and there from Ben Chilwell throughout the start of this season. But I do think he'll be ready for the game tomorrow. I'm recording this just before Frank Lampard's press conference, which does make things a little bit more difficult. Christian Pulisic, he is back. Hakim Ziyech, he is back. He was also involved in a goal for Morocco with a nice little free kick, showing his Chelsea teammates exactly what they can be getting used to with Hakim Ziyech's ball delivery coming up this weekend against Southampton. So, without any further ado, it is time to start building my Chelsea 11. And because of the injuries and people coming back from injury, this is one that is very, very difficult, and it's probably the most difficult of the season so far. In my opinion, we've seen some good performances thus far from Tammy Abraham, but because of the link-up between Timo Werner and Havertz, Tammy might miss out, but we'll get into the attackers a little bit later. But we start off with the goalkeeper, and it's the man who's come in for a lot of scrutiny, and I personally believe that Edouard Mendy, playing the last couple of games for Chelsea before the international break, Kepa then being Spain's number one, I think it was actually the perfect thing for Kepa Arrizabalaga. We know, and I put out a tweet saying that we hardly see Kepa complain. A lot of people thought I was wrong with that one. In terms of pushing for a move, that's what I was really going for. Kepa could have very easily turned around and said, Chelsea are buying Mendy, I've had enough here, Lampard doesn't believe in me, get me out of the club. This is the kind of context I was relating to in that tweet. But we do know that Kepa is very difficult when it comes to receiving criticism. Hopefully, leaving out in the last couple of games, the international break, he can come back to Chelsea with a fresh mind, a fresh attitude, and for the sake of his Chelsea future, even though obviously we don't want to wish injuries upon teammates, Kepa being Chelsea's number one now because of Mendy's injury, it could be the best thing for him, and hopefully, for his Chelsea future, we see a good performance from Kepa, we see the potential that we know that he has. Kepa starts in goal, and we move into the right-back position, and after a brilliant performance for England against Denmark, despite England losing the game, also Chelsea losing the game, Reece James is my right-back of choice. I think he was very, very good, arguably one of the best players for England going forward, and he also looks solid defensively as well. Reece James starts at right back. It's got to be Kurt Zouma. He's got 2 goals already this season. He's looking like Chelsea's best centre-back. He's in fantastic form, called up to the France squad as well. Kurt Zouma for me is the first defender on the team sheet right now. As for his defensive partner, this is a tricky one because Thiago Silva had a match for Brazil in Peru and he's had to have a long-haul flight back from South America, which is probably going to make him quite tired. The turnover of matches between this international break and the Premier League this weekend is far too short. So for that reason, I've put Fikayo Tomori next to Kurt Zuma in the centre-back position. I think obviously it's been a good time for Tomori to rest. He's not played much football. And I feel as though Thiago Silva won't be ready fitness-wise for this game against Saints. Moving into the left-back role, and of course, if he's fit, it has to be Ben Chilwell. I think the way that Chilwell has settled into the Chelsea squad, he's obviously got his first goal, he's got his first assist as well within the first month of the season, and the way that we see him integrating already with the rest of his Chelsea teammates, obviously, we know there is that England connection between him and a lot of the other young players as well. I think Chilwell is the perfect fit for Chelsea. There was a lot of people that questioned whether or not there were better left-back options available for Chelsea and Frank Lampard this summer just gone. Chilwell was the man, and I think so far we've seen him deliver a few very good minutes and a few good performances so far. So, Chilwell starts on the left, and we move into a midfield pairing. This is tough, you know, like this is where it really gets difficult because there's so many players I want to put in this team, but there's also so many players who are going to have to miss out as a result. So, I've gone with a midfield three. Mason Mount I thought was very good for England against Belgium, and I think Frank Lampard will still be wanting to use him as much as he can, despite other players coming back from injury. N'Golo Kante, he picks himself for me, in my personal opinion. There's a lot of people that have said to me, what do you think about the potential rift between N'Golo Kante and Frank Lampard? I don't really buy into it very much. Of course, we might hear about it today in Lampard's press conference. I'm recording this yesterday when you guys are watching the morning of the game. We might find out more about it there, but I do feel as though it doesn't matter whether N'Golo Kante does want to move away from Chelsea. I believe that he'll always give 110% for the Chelsea shirt, and when he's fully fit, I personally believe there's no better central midfielder in world football in the position that he plays in. So, Kante there, Hakim Ziyech, playing a little bit deeper with that ability to roam out to the wings, to have those overlapping runs with the right winger, who we're about to discuss in a moment. I think it is the perfect opportunity for Ziyech to play in this role. We could see Kai Havertz play in the central of the midfield. In fact, actually, I'm going to change my mind. Havertz to play on the right-hand side of N'Golo Kante, meaning Ziyech plays on the right wing. It's a more preferred position for him, and I think Havertz definitely does a lot better playing in more of a central position instead of being potentially isolated out on the right wing. So I've changed my mind mid-video. Havertz can go right wing. Ziyech can go right wing. Havertz can go the right-hand side of a midfield three with Timo Werner as the striker and Christian Pulisic up front. I think this is an absolutely dirty Chelsea team. You look at it and you see goals everywhere. You see goals from Reece James putting in crosses. You see Ben Chilwell ghosting into the box scoring goals. You see Zuma with goals. You see, I don't know, maybe an N'Golo Kante goal just because. Mason with goals. Timo. It's a phenomenally attacking Chelsea side. There is obviously the potential that this formation could be completely out of the window depending on whether some of these players are actually fit and ready for this game or not. But I'm excited for this one. I think Chelsea are going to give it to Southampton. I think we've seen in that second half against Crystal Palace that despite a very slow first half, when Chelsea get going, when we start to move through the gears, when we start to play with confidence, when the link up between those young players really comes into fruition, Chelsea is such a dangerous team when we attack. So far this season, we've conceded the same amount of goals as Southampton, but we have scored twice as many. So for that reason, I'm going to go with a score prediction, and I'm going to say Chelsea 4, Southampton 1. I think Saints will score a goal. I think there are still developments that we need to make defensively. I think we looked very good against Crystal Palace. That was the perfect sidestep for me from what looked very shaky, and we conceded 3 goals against West Brom. It was the perfect response with Crystal Palace at home. We nullified the Palace attack. Mendy didn't have much to do. I think Saints will be a little bit more dangerous going forward, slightly more potent than that of Crystal Palace, but I do think they'll score 1, but I think Chelsea will score 4, and the steam train of Frank Lampard with the new revolution will continue this weekend. As with any of my match previews, there's only a few hours before the game kicks off, so I do want to ask you to hit the like button and see if we can maybe hit 6,000 likes before kick-off today, this afternoon against Saints. Let me know your starting 11 in the comments down below. Who's going to miss out? Is Hudson-Odoi going to keep his place? Does Ziyech come straight into the starting 11? Where does Havertz play? What formation does Frank use? There are so many questions, and we'll get the answers at 3 o'clock this afternoon at Stamford Bridge. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later with 6 things we learned straight after the game. Come on, you Blues.